Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump and possible 2020 Democratic contender Beto O'Rourke throwing down over the border wall. The pair hosting dueling rallies in El Paso, Texas, and wasting little time going after each other. President Trump bashing Beto with these stinging attacks. And Beto O'Rourke responding by going hard left when criticizing President Trump's border wall.
We know that walls do not save lives. Walls end lives. We stand for America, and we stand against walls. We know that there is no bargain in which we can sacrifice some of our humanity to gain a little more security.
And here's President Trump laying into the Texan.
We were all challenged by a young man who lost an election to Ted Cruz. Hey, you're supposed to win in order to run. But a young man who's got very little going for himself, except he's got a great first name. He challenged us. So we have, let's say, 35,000 people tonight, and he has 200 people, 300 people.
As for the wall, congressional negotiators have reached a deal in principle to avoid a new government shutdown. The plan calls for $1.4 billion to build new border barriers, but falls short of the $5.7 billion the president's asking for. So will Trump support it? Here's what he's saying.
I never cared about construction. I love construction. And I know how to do it for the right price. Am I happy at first glance? I just got to see it. The answer is no, I'm not. I'm not happy. But am I happy with where we're going? I'm thrilled. But the wall's getting built. Regardless, doesn't matter.
All right, Juan, I confess I bought into the Beto hype. I thought he was the true believer. I thought he was a real superstar. I saw him last night. Kind of spastic gesticulations, kind of lightweight slogans, bad advance work. There was a band in the background, empty pair of drums. I don't get it. What's there to get?
Maybe he was speaking the truth.
What truth was that, Juan?
Well, he said, what does the wall do? It actually harms people. It hasn't stopped the level of illegal immigration.
How did he say the wall harms people?
By separating families.
He said it sends them around to other places where they can't get through.
But anyway,
exactly.
It doesn't matter. I mean, to me, what matters here is that Trump just, even in the size of the crowd things, just tells lies. He says, oh, this guy has 500 people. Bloomberg said that Beto O'Rourke had like 10,000 to 15,000 people. Trump had, at most, according to the fire department, 6,500 inside and another few thousand outside.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we had our crack team at the Five investigate and talk.
Crack?
We're keeping it away from you. We investigated and we talked to the Coliseum and the fire department and police department, and they said there were 7,500 inside the Trump rally.
The place only holds 65.
That's not true. One holds up to 8,000 actually, and 6,000 to 10,000 outside. So that was double what Beto O'Rourke had. Because
how's that double 15?
Because he didn't have 15.
He did.
Because the fire department and the police department both didn't do official estimates.
Okay.
And these were the estimates from his own people.
You know what? You have such trouble with statistics. I'm going to leave it alone. But I will say this. I noticed that Donald Trump last night did not mention national emergency. And so I'm hopeful that today, with the deal that's been announced, we can finally move forward. I know that people like Ann Coulter making fun of the Green New Deal called Trump's new compromise here, the Yellow New Deal for Trump. The far right's never going to get off his butt when it comes to this deal. But I think for the best of America, hopefully Trump finally realizes enough with the lies and the distortion. And the demonizing.
You know what the president did bring up were dogs, Greg. Let's listen to the tape.
Oh, I like this.
You do love your dogs, don't you? I wouldn't mind having one, honestly, but I don't have any time. I don't have time. How would I look walking a dog on the White House lawn? Feels a little phony to me. A lot of people say, oh, you should get a dog. Why? It's good politically. I said, look, that's not the relationship I have with my people. We want to have, Obama had a dog, you're right.
You love that.
I tell you why I love that, because he's doing all politicians or future politicians a huge favor. He's talking about the typical political cliches that seem phony. You don't have to get a dog. If you don't want a dog, you don't have to get a dog. Seems a bit phony to me. So he's basically saying, for the future, you don't need all this political theatrics that everybody has to bow to. That's why Liz Warren looked so bad when she tried to hold that beer in her kitchen, or when she tried to grab the kid. And even Beto last night, he sounds too earnest to be sincere, or vice versa. So what Trump is doing, Trump is opening the door for so many different types of people to become politicians because you don't have to play the same game. Can I just respond to the whole walls harm people thing?
Wait, before you do, can I jump in?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like dogs. Including Dana. I mean, I don't think she's
That's not the point. That's not the point. I'm talking about not being fake.
Yeah, he doesn't have time to pet an animal.
Well, yes,
okay.
it takes a lot of
busy, but executive time.
Trump is forcing. Somebody has to force this clarification on the Democratic Party because they're holding two competing ideas at once. You can't have a porous border and a country full of free things.
No, exactly.
Okay, those things they don't. You have to pick one. If you want your utopia of free things, then you got to have the greatest wall ever made because everybody in the world is going to come and get the free stuff. So if you don't want a wall, then you got to be a country that offers zilch. That you come here, you get nothing. In fact, nobody gets anything because that in itself is a wall.
All right.
Preach it.
So,
Thank you.
What do you think about the rallies and the deal in principle between the negotiators?
Everyone's upset with the deal, which I think is great. I love when people in Washington are unhappy because they're unpopular and they don't deserve my happiness. They also don't deserve my tax money. Let's go to Beto for a second. This is someone, I think he's precious garbage, and he drives me crazy. Here he is trying to do an impression of a cool band. He's trying to be a rock star.
Yeah.
You know, people painted this image of him and projected this aura that Beto O'Rourke is a rock star.
I don't think he's that good looking anyway. He's not.
He's trying to be mud honey.
Everyone's like comparing him to RFK. I don't think he's that handsome.
He doesn't have
he's
your
trying to be
hair.
mud honey. He's Collective Soul. Even worse, he's Nickelback.
Oh, wait a second.
That was a death blow right there.
I'm sorry.
Morgan, take it from here.
I think it was a Beto bust last night. I mean, what's really funny about this Democrat primary is how much Trump likes to gin up every one of them, and he's taking a different one every day. I think no one's going to have more fun in this Democrat primary than President Trump. I think you mentioned yesterday that he was going to be live tweeting all of the debates. But listen, the bottom line of what it comes down to, this deal, this wall, whatever it's going to be, there's a couple of questions here. Can the president, can he take this $1.375 billion, build it on steel barriers anywhere he wants in the deal? So that's important.
You don't even know that. That's the problem.
So that's a question that has to be answered. And what about this 40,000 bed cap? That's something I don't understand the politics of that one. How is that a winning political argument that we want to have less detention beds for illegal immigrants coming in?
Force ICE to focus on violent criminals rather than breaking up families or bothering people who are just here contributing to the American economy.
Well, what if they haven't contributed yet? What if they just got caught crossing?
No, I mean,
that's what the beds are for.
That's why you shut down the entitlement state. That's what Greg was saying. You shut down the entitlement state. It's one or the other. I'm fine having a bunch of people come in. I'm not fine giving people free stuff.
Right.
Back to you.
All right. And Nickelback called, and they're very upset. They're being called. Very
successful band, Canadian.
All right.
Very Canadian.
President Trump unloading on scandal-plagued Virginia Democrats. See that next.
Married to the woman, what's her name?
Rocking Virginia. Fox News has obtained what appear to be Facebook messages from the second woman accusing Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax of sexual assault. The woman, Meredith Watson, writing to a friend in 2017, and here I'm quoting, "I see you've been promoting Justin Fairfax on Facebook despite knowing he raped me, which is mind-blowing to me. Are you seriously voting for him today? #MeToo," end quote. Fox News has not independently corroborated the authenticity of these messages, and Fairfax previously denied the claims. Meanwhile, President Trump is going after the state's embattled governor, Ralph Northam, over his racist yearbook photo scandal.
The governor, he's gotten a little publicity lately. I like him. Keeps us out of the papers. I like him. I'd like to find a few more guys like this one. He almost moonwalked. His wife stopped him. Darling, it would be inappropriate. I want to see somebody try and imitate Michael Jackson in the moonwalk. This would not have been a good scene.
That was pretty funny about the wife and the moonwalk. But anyway, Morgan, what do you make now of this woman having this Facebook posting that seems to indicate that as far back as the last election, she was saying, don't vote for him, he raped me.
Yeah, I mean, what can we all think other than this is horrible, right, for this woman to come forward and saying this? The lieutenant governor has called for an FBI investigation into this. The thing that struck me today is, why isn't there already a process in place in Virginia for this? Is this the first time that anyone in public office has ever been accused of something? And it seems like, maybe it's because it's an election year, but it seems like that the party and leadership is sort of flailing. They're unsure what to do. And as we've said, there needs to be due process. There needs to be an investigation. But what's shocking to me is that there's nothing, no standards in place for this. And so they need to quickly get something together that's bipartisan. Maybe you have a bipartisan committee in Virginia where they can establish the rules of the game anytime that there is some sort of allegation like this, because everyone deserves their full hearing.
Yeah, I think we're in uncharted waters is the way I think of it.
But it shouldn't
Uncharted Waters.
That's
the title of your book.
There it is.
Thank you, Juan.
You're welcome, brother.
He gets credit now.
All right, but let me ask you a question,
Yes.
Jesse. So part of what she says is that Corey Maggette, who works for Fox Sports, also attacked her, raped her. And yet, Corey Maggette says nothing like this happened. The school says we're looking into it. Mike Krzyzewski, I think he's been the coach of Duke basketball for like 39 years, has a spotless record. He once put a kid off the team because of questions about sexual misconduct, but nothing about Corey Maggette.
Yeah, we don't know what Duke know about that whole allegation, but I do know this. In the court of law, it's tough to prove these things. 15 years ago, he said, she said, no physical evidence.
Right.
But in terms of Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh had airtight alibis. And I'm not even talking about the calendar. His alibis were airtight. He had witnesses that poked holes in the accuser's story. He had everything locked down. This situation, this is a second accuser, and this person now has corroborating evidence in terms of documentation that she told people. Politically, this is just really bad for Fairfax.
Yeah.
What do you make of it, Kennedy?
I think that, to Morgan's point, and she asks a great question, why aren't there safeguards in place to make sure that, if there is someone whose moral ineptitude and ill character has finally made its way into the limelight, if that person is really, could harm the state or is such a bad person they shouldn't be in power, there has to be a way of getting them out of power. But unfortunately, Democrats in Virginia are in the kind of pickle you rarely see in politics, even in these crazy times, because Justin Fairfax is bookended by two men who were involved in photo racism scandals. Mark Herring will be just as guilty if Ralph Northam has to step aside because of his blackface past, because Mark Herring arguably has done essentially the same thing. So it's impossible for one of them to leave and the other to stay, and that leaves Fairfax, who could be in real legal jeopardy here. And then the state flips over to a Republican governor. The fourth person in line is Kurt Cox, who is the Speaker of the House of Delegates.
One quick follow-up to you, Kennedy. Obviously there was due process, a hearing, a full hearing in front of TV cameras given to Justice Kavanaugh now. But I don't think people on either side felt that they know the answer.
I think there's probably more to know here, particularly if you've got a paper trail. So,
and they both admit to it.
Yes,
an encounter.
Yeah, he
they both
admitted to a
encounter.
consensual encounter.
The second accuser.
Consensual.
Yeah,
Yes.
the second accuser.
Well, Kavanaugh said, I didn't even know her.
Right.
It's a huge difference.
And this is a Facebook post that took place 2 years ago. It's not something that happened 2 weeks ago when she saw conveniently that she could come forward and get a little publicity for herself. And she even says it in painful detail. Oftentimes rape allegations aren't taken seriously. I can't make an anonymous allegation because it won't have any credibility. And that speaks to the conundrum that so many victims are in. They're terrified because if they try and do it anonymously, nothing happens. And then if they come forward, then, they're vilified, or they have the kind of notoriety they certainly never wanted for something like this.
What do you make of this, Greg?
Well, I want to go back to this irony, and it should not be lost, that for 2+ years, this two-headed dragon of the media and the Dems have been chasing scandals and creating scandals to bring down Trump for 2 years. For 2 years, this has been going on. And now the establishment media has to look at their own side. What happened to all the scandal rabbits, right? There was collusion. There was Stormy. Where is Stormy? Trump was insane. Trump was unstable. Trump was a Russian agent. Then you had the Kavanaugh as a gang rapist. This Christmas list of scandals all went away. And what are we left with? Blackface, sexual assault, blackface, anti-Semitism, infidelity. All of these things are percolating and very real on the Democratic side. So for 2 years, they've been eating ice cream, the Dems and the media, and now they got to eat their vegetables.
But Al Franken's gone.
Yeah. Hey.
Well, I'm just saying.
You win some, you lose some.
Well,
if Al Franken were accused today, I do think, I know we talked about this a little yesterday, I do think that he would stick around.
All right. President Trump calling on a freshman congresswoman to resign over her latest anti-Semitic comments. Hear from him right here, next on The Five.
Like Kenny Loggins, but it's not. Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar apparently not that sorry after being slammed for making new anti-Semitic comments. Omar released a statement apologizing after accusing a lobbying group of paying members of Congress to support Israel, but then said this.
You apologized today, but what have you learned from your comments and the reaction to it?
I've stated all of it in my statement.
Can you regret your comments, Congresswoman?
I'm pretty sure that was stated in my statement.
Were you surprised by the criticism? Always surprised.
So genuine. President Trump is blasting Omar for her offensive remarks and is calling on her to step down. Watch.
What she said is so deep-seated in her heart that her lame apology, and that's what it was lame, and she didn't mean a word of it, was just not appropriate. I think she should resign from Congress.
Another freshman Democrat coming under fire, Rashida Tlaib, facing backlash for writing a column for Louis Farrakhan's magazine back in 2006. So, Morgan, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Right. I didn't sense the same level of contrition from Congresswoman Omar as she's expressed in her statement. And, you know, even though she said the right words, she was talking to Jewish colleagues and, you know, really learning how her words hurt her. It was sort of the Ralph Northam playbook. We have to be really mindful that anti-Semitism globally is certainly on the rise. And it seems to be also the case with this freshman Democrat class.
Yeah, it's a huge problem globally. I mean, that's a good point. We were on air yesterday, I think, you know, shortly after she issued the apology. I tend to, if people apologize, I want to take them at their word. Certainly by seeing that video, that did not seem very contrite. This is not her first apology. This is actually at least her second apology that she's had to make for anti-Semitic remarks. So there seems to be a pattern here. I'm hoping that she can get coached and that she can, you know, actually be more contrite. But based off the public reactions, I actually think we saw more contrition from Governor Northam and what he's been through than her remarks. So we'll see if this happens again. She'll be watching closely. But the best point that you bring up is that how unsafe it is in many parts of the world to practice Judaism today. When you look at places, even England, Jeremy Corbyn, who's the head of the Labour Party there, is known for his anti-Semitic comments. It's routinely said in places like Hungary. There's many Jews who are attacked in France and fearful of wearing religious garb. And so it's when you start to see this stuff creep in the United States, I think that's why people of the Jewish faith are so on guard, because the Holocaust happened when there was no state of Israel. This isn't about Israel. This is about anywhere around the world you can be attacked for being Jewish, and we have to be careful.
And that's why Max Rose, who's also a freshman Democrat in Congress, you know, gave her a pretty quick smackdown. But where do we go from here, Juan?
Well, I think that, one, I think she's nervous and she's young and it's her first, I guess it's the first month or so in Congress, so I wouldn't take much.
She should be used to the pushback. She's been tweeting anti-Semitic things since
I don't think
at least 2012.
Let me say, I don't think it's anti-Semitic. I think she has trouble with some of Israel's policies and that there's a legitimate debate to be had. She has to be careful.
You don't think what she tweeted Sunday was anti-Semitic? Because you're
it was a meme. Even on its surface, unless you tap into the meme about the money and, you know, who's controlling, and then you say
that fits noses.
No, the whole thing about hypnosis.
Yeah, well,
that fits into some of the tropes that have been previously used to foment anti-Semitic sentiment in the world. So you tap into that. If you want to believe that she was tapping into that, okay, that's anti-Semitic, and that's why she apologized.
I think the majority of your party believes that.
No,
I mean, Nancy Pelosi came out and said it was anti-Semitic.
No, I think people are saying don't get into this game because it will divide the Democratic Party.
Because it's racist racist. You don't
Wait,
get
hang
into
on.
the game because it's
when
racist.
Donald Trump is speaking to a group of Jewish supporters, and Donald Trump says, "Hey, I don't want your money. I know you use your money to control politicians. I want your support. I don't need your money." You think people said, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic"? People say, "Oh, boy, that was strange," but we're not going to take it negatively about Donald Trump.
She has a history that is well documented by Democrat politicians.
I think she has used much more aggressive language toward Israel than the president.
How about a guy who's a Trump supporter shooting up the Tree of Life synagogue? You think that's pretty aggressive?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. So I'm just saying, be careful if you're making this a political attack.
But it's the Democrats who have imposed the purity test.
That's
so
not
unless
true.
you're going to abide by it, I think that you have to call
a lot
back.
of Jewish people are Democrats, Kennedy.
I know that, and that's my question to Jesse. Why is that?
Well, you'd have to ask them. I don't know, but they're always, no matter what their political beliefs are, very supportive of the state of Israel.
But it seems as though there are Republicans who are much more supportive of Israel and our only democratic ally in the Middle East.
Yes, it's an amazing thing that there's not more Jewish Republicans in this country. But, you know, they always have their different belief system. I think what's happening here are there's like the three musketeers. You have Omar, you have Rashidi, and you have AOC. And they're all socialists. You know, you got some anti-Semitism in there. You got some Farrakhan associations in there, some ISIS sympathy in there. And the Republicans are going to target these three women, these freshman socialists. They're not really going to target Pelosi like they did. They're just going to go after these three radicals. And Politico says this Republican strategy risks a backlash as the party that has problems with women and minorities continues to focus attacks on women of color. And I just really dislike that, because I think Republicans are going after these women because they're Democratic radicals, not because they're women or minorities. For the Republicans, it's not about identity, it's about ideology. And this backlash is created by the media. There's no real backlash. They're just going to go after you because you're trying to change the country and they don't like your policies. That's what it has to do.
Wait a second. You say these two women are trying to change the country?
These three women are so to the far left, Juan, with what they've been saying about abolishing air travel and instituting massive taxation.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get into
and writing letters to a judge asking for sympathy for ISIS recruits.
You are so far off, but I want Greg to get in here.
Oh, Greg Gutfeld, please.
To Jesse's point, though, we knew how radical they were. But if you pointed that out, you would be labeled sexist or Islamophobic. They had the intersectional force field.
Right.
Women, Muslim, and leftist. Right. That's a good force field, and the media abides by that force field. We don't have that force field. So our idea, when we say something, we're immediately attacked and we're dragged for weeks. They try to get you fired. But the media is more forgiving to that group of people. And the thing is, I don't like how people chase apologies. If she apologized and then a reporter has to keep up and asking, this is like, let them apologize and move on. I don't like it's like the media wants another bite of the outrage apple, right? They're like, they got them this time, they apologized, now they want another bite. Just let it go. But the problem everybody missed here, and if Dana was here, Kennedy, she would have pointed out, what was Omar doing?
The gum chewing.
She was chewing gum.
Like a cow.
She was chewing gum. Dana would say this, she'd go, professional women should not be chewing gum in the workplace. Chew gum at home, but don't chew gum at work because you don't look like a professional person when you're chewing gum. Now, I understand maybe you're trying to quit smoking.
She might not be a professional person very long if the president gets his way and she resigns.
Yes, but, you know, enough of the gum chewing. By the way, I have gum all over these new jeans because some jerk put gum, I hate these people. They put gum under the table.
No.
You know what I'm talking about? And then when you put your knee there, and now I've got gum all over these
can reach underneath of the table.
You've got gummy knees?
Yes, I have gummy knees.
Wait a minute. Was it this table?
It might have been because it's new. This is new.
It's your gum.
No.
Who else uses this table?
You know who sits there?
Who?
What?
Who?
Well, I can't say because he's much bigger than I am.
Oh, Tyrus. Well, never mind then. Everything's good. Tyrus, we're all good.
Oh, come on.
Just so you know, we're building the wall anyway. There's no place better to talk about border security, whether they like it or not, because I've been hearing a lot of things. Oh, the wall didn't make that much of a difference. You know where it made a big difference? Right here in El Paso. There's so much to celebrate in our country, the economy, the military, and I say it for the world to hear, America will never be a socialist country. Never. And America is winning again. Isn't that nice?
So the president mentioned El Paso last week in the State of the Union, and he was actually in El Paso last night. This morning, Todd Pyro's there.
He is at Elmer's Family Restaurant. Right there, you see it on the map. Talking to the good folks there. Hey, Todd.
Hey guys, we're having so much fun here. The food is amazing. Last night, as you saw, we spoke to Beto. We spoke to his supporters. Here's what the supporters had to say about building that wall. Take a listen. You don't want a wall. Why?
It's a waste of money. Well, I know from the fact base, first of all, that it doesn't do anything. It's not necessary. And it's not the way that drugs and terrorists come into our country.
I don't like borders. The wall has no purpose. Even if he built it himself, I still wouldn't care because we would find a way around it.
If you were president, would you make the United States a sanctuary country?
Oh, heck yeah. Bring them all. Bring your tired, bring your hungry, bring your weary. We accept them all.
Now we have some different opinions here at Elmer's. We begin with Bethany. Bethany was at the rally. Bethany's a small business owner, and you say you went to the rally, you want to support Trump because you love what he's done for your business. Why?
You know, having a president who really understands the economy and numbers has made such a difference, and we have the greatest economy we've ever had, and it really helps small businesses grow. He's been able to remove throttling regulations and help us be able to grow our businesses.
And you've paid your workers more.
Yes, I've been able to increase their salaries.
Good stuff. All right, Bethany, thank you. Adolfo, at the rally, you loved it, you had a great time, and you say as a Latino, you get really frustrated when people call Trump supporters racist. Why?
Just the thought that they say that frustrates me because the party as a whole is not racist. We're open to everybody. We're inclusive. I get offended just by the comment itself because we're not racist at all. I am Hispanic, and I'm proud to be that.
And it was a pretty diverse crowd there, right?
Oh, very, very diverse last night. Very good.
And somebody who really saw that firsthand is Justin. He volunteered at the rally. You were talking to me about the diversity. What did you see?
I saw so many people that were Hispanic there, and they were so ravenous about how much they love President Trump.
And they wanted the wall?
They wanted the wall. They really did.
Why did you choose to volunteer?
Because he's the only president in my lifetime that I actually remember that actually does what he says he's going to do from the campaign trail up until now. Everything he says he does.
Justin, thank you. Ray Bob, you say there was a unity of people at the rally. What do you mean?
Oh, it was awesome. It was great to see so many people from the community, diverse backgrounds that were here to support the President of the United States. And it was great to watch everyone be able to look through the fake news and come up with an idea that says, you know what, there is a problem here and we need to fix it.
Ray Bob, thank you. And finally, we go to Dan. Dan, your favorite part of the rally was when President Trump talked about his focus on faith and family. Why?
Right at the end of his speech last night, faith and family, and he also mentioned that the government and bureaucracy is just getting us nowhere.
Understood. Dan, thank you. Thank you all. What a great diner. Amazing time. Thank you to the owners. They were so kind to us. We can clap. And with that, I know I just had pie, but enchiladas are my favorite, and I'm going to eat enchiladas. So we'll see you guys back in New York tomorrow. It's time for Todd to eat.
That was Todd's Jeb Bush moment. Please clap. Remember?
Yes, Jeb.
But nobody clapped for Jeb.
They really, they felt it.
Excited to see Todd there. That was great. All right, 22 and a half minutes before the top of the hour, and Jillian joins us right now.
Yes, good morning.
22.5 minutes till the top of the hour.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we're following the story.
Now 23.
Okay, should I go now?
Yes,
no? Okay.
You can go.
Okay, so the newspaper carrier finds an abandoned baby in the freezing cold in the middle of a road. The carrier took the baby girl into his car and called police in California. Officers wrapped the newborn in blankets and took her to the hospital. She will be okay. Police are looking for the child's mother. She could be charged with attempted murder. A driver speeds towards a group of people in a snowball fight. The frightening moments caught on camera in Seattle. Watch this. The driver tackling a man she claims was throwing snowballs at her. She's under arrest for reckless driving and DUI. No one was hurt. A Florida homeowner holds a would-be thief at gunpoint until police could get there. The man catching the crook trying to bust into his garage just south of Daytona Beach. He ordered him down to the ground as his wife called 911.
He's on the ground, gunpoint, man. He's cursing at me. I'm out here with my wife. Please get them here.
The suspect is charged with attempted burglary. He told police he was lost and looking for a neighbor. The NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year surprises his mom with a brand new Mercedes-Benz. Listen to that excitement. That's Colts linebacker Darius Leonard posting his mom's priceless reaction with the caption, quote, "We've been through so much. Now it's like we're on top of the world."
That is so
Gotta
sweet of him.
Yes.
For everything she
Love
did
this
for him.
Yep.
And
Yes. And
that's
she
excellent.
loved it. I like her
Obviously.
reaction.
Yes.
Who wouldn't?
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you.
All right, millions are waking up to a winter mess this morning.
Snow and ice sweeping through the Midwest, and now it is moving across the Great Lakes into the Northeast.
Janice Dean is tracking the dangerous system on Fox Square. Hey, Janice.
Here it comes. We're getting some snow here in New York City. And I want to make sure people are not focused on snow totals because although we usually do that, this is going to be a significant ice event. Let's take a look at the maps and I'll show you where we're getting that icing. You can see it's 29. So the temperature has dropped a couple of degrees here in New York City. So any precipitation coming into this region is going to be snow. We are getting some snow here in New York City, light rain in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. You're right on the cusp of the freezing rain and or sleet. And you can see the forecast precipitation. Here's what I'm concerned with. The pink on your screen is the potential for accumulating ice across portions of Jersey, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, in towards New England. So that's going to be the big concern, not the big snow totals, but the icing, especially in the afternoon commute. That's why a lot of schools are closed today, just in anticipation of that. Across New York City, Long Island, much of Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and then into Connecticut, and then it's going to continue up towards New England into the overnight. This year, so winter ain't over yet. I should have consulted the groundhog. Back inside.
You did. You were at Puxatawny.
I know.
And early spring, supposedly.
It still could happen.
I think it will.
Just not this week.
All right. Thank you. JD.
We'll wait till March. It's still February. Let's be honest. This is when snow should happen.
True.
And spring does officially start in March.
Sometimes it does happen in
21st.
March, too.
All right. Meanwhile.
Democratic lawmakers pushing late-term abortion laws nationwide, but a new survey says most pro-choice Americans don't like it. Our next guest says those Democrats should take notice.
And President Trump talking illegal immigration with sheriffs from around the country. One sheriff at that meeting yesterday at the White House says a border fence cut crime in his area by 91%. You're going to hear it from him coming up.
Fantastic men and women. And they know what we're up against. We're up against people that want to allow criminals into our society. And you explain that one.
President Trump calling out Democrats and their push to expand late-term abortion.
Millions of innocent, beautiful babies are counting on us to protect them, and we will. That is why last week I called on Congress to immediately pass legislation prohibiting extreme late-term abortion.
And it looks like most Americans agree with him. A brand new survey released overnight shows 80% of all Americans oppose late-term abortions, which is third trimester and after, and 68% of pro-choice Americans oppose it that far along as well. Catherine Glenn Foster is the president and the CEO of Americans United for Life, the group behind this survey, and she joins us now to weigh in on this. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. So why did you decide to do this survey?
We wanted to find out what the true views of Americans really are and to inspire Americans to be able to hold their elected officials and their public institutions to account.
Were you shocked when you found out? I mean, the majority of pro-choice individuals
they appear to be born, and of course been born. Vast majorities oppose all of these procedures, and
the majority of people in America aren't for it.
yeah, they are out of touch with the ordinary American. They are out of touch with their constituents, and they need to stop this really reckless push towards late-term abortion and towards infanticide. It's simply wrong.